Sometimes there could be land issues, legal matters pertaining to this particular property. There are so many things that can potentially happen that for me personally, I just don't want to take that on. I just don't want to. I'd rather... Hey guys, welcome back. All right, in today's video, I want us to talk about the reason why, me personally, I wouldn't buy an incomplete building in Ghana. I have various different reasons for doing so. I guess some of my reasoning comes from personal experience. You know, when I built this house, you know, it was, even though it's a new house, it kind of like wasn't a new house because there was a small existing structure here already. And even though that was mild and, you know, I wasn't really building on that structure, it has still posed a challenge along some of the way, right? So when I see incomplete buildings, you know, Ghana, we have incomplete buildings all over the place. Incomplete buildings are around for various different reasons. I guess for the most part, it's going to be because someone couldn't afford to finish paying for their house and they couldn't live in it, and so it gets abandoned. You know, there's different reasons why there are abandoned buildings, but essentially there are abandoned buildings everywhere, and a lot of them are for sale. Now, why I personally would never buy one of these abandoned buildings is that I feel like there is just so much risk. Unless you are going to get out all the experts, and I mean proper experts, to come and assess the building and tell you that, okay, everything is cool, you're good to go, I personally wouldn't touch it. I mean, there would probably be a few exceptions to the rule, like if I knew the person, who it was, if I could have direct contact with the owner. But if it's one of these ones that's been sitting there for a very long time and, you know, no one really understands, you know, how this building is here, it's just got a for sale sign up on it, I personally wouldn't touch it. I think the first reason I wouldn't touch it is honestly because you just don't really know the quality that was used to build the house, right? When you're building a house, it has to be solid. And so, you know, some of these houses that you've seen, you don't know how quickly someone put it up. Did they let the foundation set very well before raising up the building? You know, what kind of quality of materials were used at the time? You don't know if shortcuts were taken. There is a lot of risk in it, and before you begin to add your contribution onto the house, you're going to have to do a risk assessment on what some of those things are. We don't know, you know, in Ghana as well, you know, we have different grades of cement. So some cement is stronger than others. Some are better for some things and other types of cement are better for other things. So like if you're casting, you want to use a really, really strong cement. I can't remember the number. Like they have numbers and things. I can't remember what it is. But, you know, you need to use a really strong cement for things like that. You can't use the other type of cement. But I guess if you don't have building knowledge or you're not aware of some of these things, as a first-time builder, you could, as a first-time person who's building a property, right, you could just think, okay, well, this cement is cheaper and go and buy that one. Meanwhile, it's not the one that necessarily wants. Or you could have builders who, you know, hey, let's be honest, some builders are out there for their own gain, so they'll buy the cheaper one and they won't buy the one that's solid to do the job properly. They just want to get it done and get maximum profits. So meanwhile, you think you've paid for the more expensive one, they bought the cheaper one, and, you know, you're left with what you're left with. Like, there's just so many things. I mean, that comes from having a good team as well. But honestly speaking, I just think that there's a lot of risk. And I know people that have built with uncompleted buildings. You know, sometimes some of us, we inherit buildings even from our parents, you know, and we build and then we're finding this complication, that complication. There was no damp-proof membrane in the foundation and we build on top and now it's causing us a lifelong problem, you know. There are so many things that could go wrong in purchasing an incomplete building. It can be very, very risky. I would say if this is your first rodeo when it comes to building, I wouldn't advise that you do that, especially not here in Ghana. It might work in other countries, but here in Ghana, I feel like there's a lot of risk, especially with the elements, you know, how our weather is. It's hot, it's cold, it's rain. Well, it doesn't really get cold, but, you know, when it's like Hamatan weather, when it's raining season, there are so many things that happen. That I just think that is very, very risky. You're going to run into a lot of problems. And for me, if you want to build a house in the most stress-free way as possible, then you want to know what's happened from foundation going upwards, because there's so many things that can potentially pop up. You know, even from the soil, the ground itself, you know, before you even start building, you need to understand what kind of soil you're working with. What's the ground like? Are you building on sand? Are you building on, like, you know, clay, like what type of foundation are you building on? Some people, when they begin to build, they don't care about these things. They just like, put the foundation there, let's go. Do you know what I'm saying? But there are so many different things that you have to understand about building before you get to actually raise up the building. And so there's a lot to consider, and if it's your first rodeo, as I said before, you may not understand or have knowledge about some of the things. So you need to be careful when you're beginning your journey. You know, another reason is that, you know, there could be a lot of hidden costs as well. As you begin to build on this uncompleted building, there are going to be things pop up. Maybe pipe work wasn't put in properly. Maybe the electricity is not done properly. Like, there's going to be all these things that happen. And it can start to build up. You know, most people will buy an incomplete building for various different reasons, right? They will buy one because, first of all, you don't have to start from ground zero and start building up. It's like, okay, this building could be like 60% done, you know, and so you think, okay, well, it's a faster way for me. I can get a deal on what it would cost for me now to purchase and go up, right? So you think, okay, well, I can buy it cheaply and I can just develop on it and fix this and the other. But you're going to run into some problems. And those costs, if you're not careful, can start to mount, especially when it comes to having to break things to repair. That is the worst thing ever. I've experienced some of it, and it's like, it's not fun. It's really not fun having to redo things, or especially if an area has been tiled, now you realize that there's a problem. Now you're going to have to break the tiles on the floor because something was not, the piping was not done properly. And so you have this issue, that issue. You know, here in Ghana, we don't have those machines where you can even see into the walls to see where cables are and things like that. We don't really use those things here. And so it causes issues. So you might find that you're going to have to break things down. Something's not done properly. This has to be redone. And so those costs can mount very, very quickly. So you have to be careful of things like that as you begin your building journey. And sometimes we have to also understand that the reason that a building is incomplete is not even necessarily because the person doesn't have the money to finish, but because there are other side problems that you have not been informed about. Sometimes there could be land issues, legal matters pertaining to this particular property. There are so many things that can potentially happen that, for me personally, I just don't want to take that on. I just don't want to. I'd rather start on a clean slate somewhere and know what I'm doing. If I start digging a foundation and someone comes, this is not your property, let me know it. Let me not purchase this house, not understand that there's an issue going on here. There's some family feud about this house or whatever. Now I find myself in the midst. Like, I mean, I don't want that. Stop me while I've dug the ground. I've only paid for that. I've dug the ground and there's this issue. Stop me there so that I can cut my losses if I need to cut my losses or whatever. I don't want to face a bigger problem where I've now invested £60,000 in this uncompleted building, and now I have a whole host of wahala happening, and now I have to pay off family X, family Y, and then family Z is also coming because they can see that I've now paid off two families. Like, I know it sounds like stories, but these things happen. I know somebody who had to purchase their property 4 times. 4 times. They inherited the property from their mother before she passed, and issue after issue after issue after issue. Like, wouldn't you be tired? Like, these are the realities of some of the things that can happen in Ghana. And that's not to put you off or to make you afraid about any of that stuff. It's just that if you're going to do things, make sure that things are done the right way. Make sure it's going to cost you, but you have to bring the right people in to make sure that, you know, things are done legally in the way that they're supposed to be done, and that there are no issues that you're going to run into. Because believe me, you can run into issues. Like, you may think that you're smart, but sometimes Ghana is smarter than you. Ghana can be smarter than you, so you need to be careful of some of these things, you know. Another reason I wouldn't particularly purchase an incomplete building is because of the design. Me, if I want to build a house and I'm going to put all that money into it, I want the house to be the house that I want. I don't want it to be somebody else's layout where I don't like where the kitchen has been put. I don't like the way the plumbing is running through the house here. You know, there are some houses where it's like, to get to one room, you have to pass through another room and things like I don't want all that mess. I don't want that. And so it's like, unless you're one of these people that you don't mind somebody else's layout, you're willing to live with it, then fine, go ahead. But sometimes you may not like the plan. You know, I've spoken about it before, where sometimes you go into a house and architecturally, the house doesn't make sense. There are lots of dead spaces, you know, things that just don't make sense. Are you willing to correct all of that? Because these are sometimes things that you may not even necessarily see until you start doing work on the house. You're like, this doesn't make sense. Until you do a walkthrough. Unless you're one of these people that's able to visualize And let's be honest, a lot of us, we can't visualize until we start seeing things come off the ground, like in a proper way, right? If you can't visualize that, it may be hard for you to spot. And then before you know it, you've got to a place where you're like, oh my gosh, now I have to redo this whole room because it doesn't make sense the way it's flowing, right? So you have to understand those things. When you buy an uncompleted house, you may not get the design of the house. You may not get the layout of the house for you to even look at to see if it even makes sense. So all these things can pop up along the way. So you have to be prepared for those. So although you're buying an incomplete house, and yes, there is going to be reduced costs involved, you're going to pay in another way. So me personally, buy a complete house, build from scratch, or buy an incomplete house, I'm going to build from scratch. But that's me. That doesn't mean that has to be your case. I know people that have had incomplete buildings and have, made it work for them in the best way possible because it's a cheaper option in which to build. And if that works for you, that's great. But I'm saying me personally, that's why I keep saying personally, me personally, just because I don't like some types of headaches, and I'm just like, I don't want that. I feel like if I want to build a home, especially my dream home, I want it to be from scratch in the way that I want it to be. I want it to flow how I want it to flow. I want to sit down when the house is complete and think, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted. This is the life that I want to live, We all have dreams about what we want. Sometimes we're in the West, we set off what we have. We go around, we go house hunting, and we look at house and we're like, okay, yeah, I can work with this. Okay, yeah, I purchase this. But it's not necessarily what you really want. When you come to Ghana, you have the opportunity to build what you want. So I don't see why I should put myself in a position where I'm now having to work with someone else's design plan. That's not what I want. I want to do what I want to do from scratch so that it's comfortable. So if I want to have a swimming pool in my living room, I could put a swimming pool in my living room if that's what I desire. I don't, but if that's what I desire, I want to be able to have that flexibility as I design my house around having my swimming pool in my living room, because that's what I want. So I don't want to come here and put restraints on myself, because when I'm going to put all my energy, all my time, all my youth inside building this house, I want it to be built in a way that I will enjoy it to my maximum. And so that's personally why I wouldn't buy an incomplete building. I personally definitely do not want to inherit somebody else's problems. I want to come and start from scratch and do it. I don't want this to be, oh yeah, this was an incomplete house, and so I've done it in the best way. No, I want fresh. No, that's me. I'm like that. I'm a bit finicky about certain things. But there are lots of issues that do actually come up when you're buying an incomplete house. So before you go ahead and do it, and this video is not saying don't buy an incomplete house. This video is more so telling you, you know what? If you're going to buy an incomplete house, go in with an open mind. Go in knowing the issues that you could possibly face, so that when they do pop up, you're not surprised and it doesn't affect your budget and all the rest of it. Because the last thing we want to do is buy an incomplete house, work on it, and it's finished and you're not happy in it, and now you want to think about selling. Selling a property in Ghana once you've built is not the easiest. It's not like in the West, you can just sell a property like that. It doesn't work like that. So you want to think about these things. So this video is more food for thought rather than saying do this or don't do this. This is my personal opinion as to what I would want if I was moving to Ghana and building a house. But anyway, let me know what you think about what I've said in the comment section. Would you buy an incomplete house? Yes, no, maybe so. Let me know. Let's talk some more in the comment section about it, okay? If you would like to do a one-to-one consultation with me about moving to Ghana, you could send me an email to dela@mortodela.com. Also, if you're moving to Ghana and you would like a soft landing, or if you are, for any reason, just need a place to stay, you can let me know. I have 2 one-bedroom apartments that are available for a long-term or short-term stay. You can message me about that to the same email address. Also, if you would like to purchase some of my I can't even talk, I lost my words. If you would like to also purchase some of my whipped shea butter, you can either click the link in this video, it should have popped up on the screen, or you can check out the website by going to www.fafabydela.com and you can purchase some from there. All right, that's the end of today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Don't forget to also like, comment, and share this video. Until next time, I am out. Fafa.
Baby, you give me ice and fire. You're giving me wings.